Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest is a Maryland-based realtor, investor, and property manager. His company, Unique Property Investment Group, has been around since 2016, and he also works in tech as a network engineer. Please welcome Sean Ledbetter. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Dylan.
It's a pleasure to have you. I always like to start off at the top by asking folks how they got into real estate.
Yeah, so I kind of stumbled across real estate. I purchased my first home in Bowie, Maryland, which is in Prince George's County here in Maryland, back in 1999. And at that time, I purchased it for $146,000, put down $5,000 on the home. And at that time, I was nervous, Dylan. I was like, how can I purchase this home and how can I stay in it? Right.
Yeah.
And as you know, at that time, that's when the real estate boom happened.
Boom.
Right? So I purchased it in 1999. I sold it for $388,000 6 years later. So when that boom happened, the light bulb went off and said, you know what? Go get your real estate license. Sell your own home. Become an agent, sell your own home. That way you can save 3%, move on to your next property. And so that's what I did. So that's how I kind of learned about real estate and learned the benefits of how real estate could really help out me and my family at that particular time.
Now, when you got into the real estate space from the tech world as a network engineer, were you thinking maybe about a career transition, or were you thinking, hey, I like what happened with my own home and maybe there's something there, maybe I go be an investor? Or was it really, hey, let me just see what this is like?
Yeah, I started out with saying, you know what, I'm going to just get my license to help people buy, sell, and invest, mainly friends and family at that particular time. So I didn't see it as a career, as, you know, me helping out the masses in regards to making this a full-time career. But I did know that it was a benefit of having my real estate license, because not just helping out my friends and family, but at that time, I wanted to be a real estate investor. So I was going to meetups and understanding, you know, how does that process work? And some of the creative strategies that I use today, I learned back in 2000. So, you know, I just wanted to know, you know what, if I don't become a full-time agent or make this a full-time career, how can I make this as a benefit for other things that's coming down the road? Which, you know, in 2016, started my own real estate investment company, and there I am.
I think a lot of people think that, well, it must be difficult to be involved in both. But I would also say real estate's tricky if you don't have a license, right? If you're on the outside looking in, and we probably have a similar mentality in that regard. It's like buying and selling a home is complicated. And so,
yes,
you know, when you have the ability to kind of learn everything about the process yourself, there is an investment, there's a financial investment, but buying a home is a big financial investment. What's, you know, $3,500 more in a couple hours, not a couple hours, but some hours to get some studying done, right? And pass the test. And then you can help other people in your immediate friend group, and then so on and so forth. I had a similar approach, which was, you know, I want to go the investment route, and I wasn't, and I'm still not, truthfully, super passionate, although I may change, about listing homes and about representing buyers and showing properties and so on and so forth. But I said, you know, I really want to be an investor. And I think if I don't have the capital to buy a bunch of duplexes right now, let's get my license and let's scale and build the relationships. I want to pivot a bit here, Sean, and ask you about kind of the steps that led to you forming the investment group. So you got your license. Was it shortly after you sold your home in the early 2000s?
I actually got my license during that. So I sold my own home. So I got my license, and at the time, and it still is today, it's only a 60-hour course. So I spent about $120. I went at night from 6 to 10 o'clock for like a month and a half. And I got my license and I sold my own home. And by doing that, guess what? I saved 3% on the sale.
Yeah. You got your money back right there.
I got my money back right there. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, I think when people hear stories like that, they think, okay, well, maybe I could see myself in that. 2016, you start the investment company, Unique Property Investment Group. So along the way, I'm imagining there were some pivot points, or maybe you saw some market shifts. You see the 2008 crash that happens, right? What were some of those pivot points, or were there any maybe events or relationships in the real estate space that made you decide, you know what, I got to get into this. I got to start my own investment group?
Yeah, good question. Well, one of the things, it was a situation, a life situation that happened in my life. My uncle passed away. And when my uncle passed away, we had a family home that has been in our family since the 1950s. Well, my grandparents purchased a home in the 1950s, $15,000. that home has been in our family since then. So it got passed down to my uncle. Unfortunately, my uncle passed away. He passed it down to my mom. My mom passed it down to my brother, myself, and my cousin. And so the real estate investing started there because the property stayed vacant. It was a non-appreciating asset for 2 years. So that's really where the real estate investment started, because I had to refinance the property. I had to renovate the property. And then we had to get a tenant in there. And so that allowed me to, number one, understand the real estate investment process and the phases of real estate investing, but I didn't have the time frame or the of not getting it sold or getting it flipped in a short period of time. Because typically, a lot of people with
Time
real estate
crunch.
investors, the time crunch, hard money lending, short term period. So this allowed me to learn the process, understand all the nuances in real estate investing, and get my feet wet. So that's where it started. And from there, it whet my appetite to start doing other things.
You know, it's interesting because the two experiences that got you involved in one in real estate in general, and then the other one in investing and with the investment company is deals that involved yourself and your family, right? And so what a great,
Yeah.
I'd say message, and anyone can relate to this who's looking at buying a house. I mean, that's again, one of the biggest reasons why I got my license was because I just thought, man, this is tricky. Right. And,
Yeah.
I can entrust this process with someone else, but I really want to understand it. Hopefully I have the opportunity to buy multiple homes in my life and not one, although one, I'd take one too. Right. But,
Yeah.
the ability to then use that as a learning tool and kind of the pivot point, which launches new idea, new creative investment group, like that's a really interesting opportunity. The first year, 2 years, 3 years after 2016, what was the business like? How active were you? And then were you doing flips? Were you doing rentals? What was the business like?
So I started out doing flips. And again, the first deal that I received was through a family connection. We had a family friend that passed away, and his children were living out of state. And so at that time, they lived in the property, but they no longer lived there, and they wanted to sell the property. Because I was the real estate agent, I had my own real estate investment company. One of the things that I do is I want to provide solutions to a client or someone who's looking to sell, right? And so, that's one of the benefits of being not just a real estate investor, but also a realtor that has a license, because then you can provide many solutions and allow them to pick and choose what solution is best for them. So at this particular time, they wanted to sell. I was going to buy the property. I purchased the property for about, $115,000. I put about 75 into it, and I sold it for 300,000. Right. So I
That's a
pretty
flip right
much
there.
grossed about 112,000, I believe, at that particular time. And that was my first deal. So one of the things I tell my clients, my mentors, is it's not how many deals you do, it's how many deals you do correctly. And so it takes education, it takes ambition, and it takes just the willingness to go out and get it done.
And get it done. I tell folks that, the same strategy that worked in early 2000s is not going to work today, or really it might not work 5 years from then. Or if I start a strategy right now, it might not work 5 years from today. I know quite a few flippers in the DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth Metro, who have pivoted away from flipping. It's very tough in some metros to do flips, and I can speak specifically to Dallas. It's a little bit trickier to do flips. You really have to buy the deal right. And then a lot of times too, new builds, people are getting very savvy. You can find new builds for maybe marginally more than the cost of some of the higher end flips. So people are like, well, if I can go new versus rehab, I'm going to go new. I'm curious what pivots you've seen in your business. And what were some of those kind of defining moments where you said, okay, well, there may be a market shift happening, or I may have to adjust what we're doing with the investment group?
So one of the things that, I kind of stick with is, as a real estate investor, I buy properties one of two ways. One, a discount, or second, on terms. Right. And so as a real estate investor, when it comes to fix and flip, no matter what market I'm in, I know that there's still a good market for me, because I'm going to buy it 70 cents on the dollar. Right. That's acquisition and renovation. And if I cannot purchase it for that, guess what? I just move on to the next deal. So for me, it's not about emotion. It's about what the dollars that make sense. Right. And if it doesn't make sense, then you have to move on. Now, one of the things that I do, because I have multiple services in my business, because I'm a real estate agent, because I didn't tell you this, but I'm also a licensed contractor,
There you go.
home improvement contractor. I'm a property manager, and I'm a real estate investor. So when I'm speaking to a client, I say, okay, what are you looking for? right? And from there, I come up with a plan. Okay, this is what you're looking for. This is what I can offer. I'm a licensed agent. I can put it on the market as is. I can put it on the market once you fix it up. You can, renovate it, or I can purchase it, right? I like to give people opportunities and options and let them pick those options.
What was the process like with becoming a licensed contractor?
So in Maryland, it's really simple. It's an open book test. It's an open book test. I think it's like 55 questions. And because I've been doing real estate investing for so long, and also I come from a family where my brother is a master electrician, my dad's a master electrician. So I come from that background. So it's not really that complicated. If you understand the basics of it's just home improvement, and again, it's an open book test. It's pretty simple.
Love to hear where there's kind of this synergy within the family, because maybe family wasn't directly involved in real estate transactions, but more and more we're seeing real estate investors and people tangent to the real estate space that are buying real estate are also buying businesses. And a lot of those businesses are in the trades, HVAC, electrician, right?
Yes.
And tangent fields. And so it makes sense that, family has some experience in those realms. I'm curious, bringing us up to speed to today, 2016 to 2025, 9-year time difference.
Yes.
What were maybe some of the trickier moments that you had to navigate as far as maybe deals? You mentioned 70%. I think a lot of people go 70%. Did you ever come across a deal where maybe there was more rehab than anticipated, or where there may have been, issues after the fact?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You see, I'm losing my hair here, right? So my last deal was in Baltimore, Maryland. And that particular project was very difficult and challenging. One, because I've never done a deal in Baltimore. Number two, I was converting a row home into a 3-family multi-unit, right? So that means you have to get permits, you have to deal with the county, and it was new to me. I've never done it. I've never dealt with Baltimore City. I never did a conversion from a single family to a multi-family. And so, what I thought the renovation was going to cost me, it cost me a little bit more, and it cost me a little bit more time because I was new to the whole process. And so, again, you have one or two options, right? You can, face your fears and move forward, or you can face your fears and crawl in the hole. And so I just learned to always fall or fail forward, because you're always going to have challenges. You're always going to have, issues and things you don't see in real estate. But if you stick to the foundations and the basics of it, you can work your way through it. I spent more than I had to, but because of the strategies that I use, so I basically started with a fix and flip, got hard money lending, got the acquisition, 90% of the acquisition, got 100% of the renovation. I converted into a 3-unit. I did a DSCR loan. I poured out $40,000 in cash, tax-free. I Airbnb the basement. The first level, I was able to rent out midterm. And upstairs, I was able to rent out midterm as well. And I was pretty much right now, I'm getting about $1,500 of cash flow every month.
The midterm housing, I love the midterm housing, because it's like they don't have to deal with any type of real tenant issues. The people that employ them want to make sure that they're going to be, working. And if something happens to them, well, they have to find someone else to move in there in many cases, especially if it's direct to a company. And then, of course, short term is a great opportunity. Baltimore, I can imagine, great opportunity for short-term housing. And I think a lot of people would be happy with $500 a month or less at this point. $1,500 is a great opportunity there. So congrats on pulling that one through there. But a lot of lessons there. Dealing with permits, I know, very difficult in a new city. Conversion, challenging stuff. We are coming up on time here, Sean. Where can folks go if they maybe like to learn more about your investment group, or if they would like to reach out to you, or maybe if they're in the Maryland area?
Absolutely. I don't know if I can share my screen, but you can find me on social media. My handle is @LedbetterDMV. You can definitely find me there. From there, you can just DM me and reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns.
Sean, thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
Thank you for having me, Dylan.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.